Me too.
It's like mine doesn't show it, but I type it in name.
Okay, we are live. So I will now call to order regular meeting of the City of Helotes Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors. It is June the 19th, 2024, and it is now 7:03. So we now will begin our meeting. First, we'll like to acknowledge that we do have quorum. We are only missing one director, which is Director Benavides, but we do have quorum. All other directors are here today. So we now will move on to our open session, citizens to be heard. Do we have any citizens to be heard?
No, Mr. President.
Okay, with that, I will close our open session and we'll move to our consent agenda. Items number 3 and 4. All consent agenda items listed below are considered routine by EDC staff and are intended to be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a director requests it, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. So do I have any requests to remove any of the consent agenda items?
Number 4.
Okay, we have a request from Director Helotes to remove number 4 from the consent agenda item. And so I will entertain a motion for approval of consent agenda item number 3 only.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. So the consent agenda item number 3 is approved. All right, so we'll move to our committee reports. We have 5 standing committees currently. So we'll move on. We'll get a report from each one. So we'll start with the executive committee, which consists of myself and VP Kodosky and Secretary Lutz. We did not have our regular meeting, but I will give an update of just an item that I think is important to discuss because there's an item that me and Glenn have been working on for a little bit now. So we did have, if y'all remember, what year was that now, Glenn, that sewer line got put in? 2019. So 2019, there was a very large sewer line and water line that the City of Helotes and the EDC put money into constructing along Bandera Road, which has actually spurred the development along there as we hoped it would. And part of the agreement with SAWS is there would be reimbursements for that line as people tapped into it in the future. There was also on the water side some impact fee credits that came along with what the cost of that water line was. So the city has the impact fee credits and are actually working on liquidating those now, and the EDCs and I guess has the future reimbursements of that sewer line that's going to have an expiration coming up probably within the next, I think it was a 10-year term. So we're on our last 4 or 5 years now of that term to get reimbursed on. So we've been working with SAWS for a while because when the original calculation was done about how we would be reimbursed, SAWS based it upon a reimbursement on a linear footage of frontage for every property that was developed along that sewer line. And they were basing it upon basically half the length because they were assuming that there would be properties both on the north side, or I'll call it west side and east side of Bandera Road that would tie into it. Well, the sewer line is constructed on the east side, which for anybody on the other side of the road would be a challenge to get to that sewer anyways because of elevation and of course going underneath TxDOT highway. But the bigger thing is that the west side of the roadway, most of that is Old Town Helotes, which actually has its own sewer line. I think everybody knows it's there. And so the opportunity for there is nobody that it can utilize that sewer line that's on the east side of Bandera there. So we've negotiated with SAWS that the reimbursement would come back. Basically, you're going to start basing the reimbursement based upon just one side of the road using it only. So good things for us in the future. Properties that have already been developed, we've missed out on that opportunity. But we're glad that in the future we do have some properties along there that would be a good reimbursement for the EDC and for the city as those properties are developed. So kudos to Glenn. I appreciate your follow-up with SAWS on that and really pushing them on that issue. So really on the executive side, VP Kodosky or Secretary Lutz, anything to add that maybe has been outside of just our normal realm of business?
Not on that item, no.
Okay. No, sir. Okay, very good. We'll move on to then our finance committee. I think, Joel, you have a few things that you want to bring on the finance.
Yeah, just some information that we gathered from some concerns that we previously had. The finance committee did meet, I think 2 weeks ago. We did, the majority of the meeting was formulating our 2025 budget. that we're going to see for the first time tonight. We're kind of working on amending that and changing that around. But there was a question that had came about previously on our interest income that we have from the monies that we have over at Logic, and we weren't seeing it credited to our balance sheet. The last credit was in January, I believe, was the date on that. So we were questioning that. It's just an issue with the city being able to put that onto our onto that
software.
Yeah, onto that software. Yeah, thank you. So Glenn did get the actual report from the company who's holding it, Logic, and right now we're earning $17,784 a month of that interest as of 5/31/24. I think, Glenn, you said that was somewhere around 5.4% that we were
Yes.
on that. So year to date, the interest earnings is 87,166.
Very good.
So that is there in that account under our name and code. It's just not able to show on the software that we get our report from. So
Right. And
it is
so-
there.
And so in our financials right now, in our revenue and expense report, that our revenue part is not accurate. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, good. And I know, Jeff, this might
Yeah,
hopefully
it's
help you
only
with some of your
showing-
questions.
Well, that answers some of it, but
Yeah.
we'll
We'll
discuss
get
it when we
more.
get there.
Okay. Okay, well, good. That's good news. And I'm sure that's something that can probably be figured out. You know, obviously this is money that's invested with Logic, which is a statewide government investment tool that I'm sure we can figure out how to get that to talk with our software to get it shown as correctly in our revenue statement. So, okay, good. Any other updates? Obviously, we got with the fiscal year end budget is a big one. Any other updates that we have?
No, sir.
Okay, good. We'll then move on to governance committee. Do we have any updates from the governance committee?
Not any updates from the governance committee.
Okay, thank you. Building evaluation committee. Any updates?
You want to talk on that?
Do we want to get, I guess we can, I guess you all have been met as a committee, but do you want to give the full report when you talk at the end? Or
We can wait till the end.
okay, let's just save that for the update at the end. So what it's going to be is the building evaluation committee deals directly with our business and visitor center and meeting and understanding how construction is going. And so we do have another item at the end of our agenda that's an update from our director on that specific item. So we'll wait to the end of the staff report. Okay, community enhancement committee. So I will give an update on the community enhancement committee side. So as y'all know, the big project that we are working on in the community enhancement committee is the disc golf and park, fitness park, and understanding what is our future for that and what is our timeline and what does improvements look like. So we did go out for a request for proposals from landscape architecture firms. That went out for 30 days. We did get 11 submissions.
Yes.
Yeah, 11 submissions of RFPs came in, which was great. You know, it's glad to see that people want to do business with City Helotes. We had individual evaluations of the RFPs done by myself, Glenn. Who else was on there? City Councilman Sanders,
Greg and Jeff.
Greg and Jeff. So what was interesting in it, so we did a scoring system on it, and it was interesting is our number one on each one of ours independently was all the same firm. So that made it pretty easy as far as the choice of who we wanted to interview for this particular project. So me and Glenn did an interview, had an initial interview by Zoom just to kind of meet them. And then we had a sit down meeting with them on June 12th. Meeting went well, and we'll get to that at a later date or a later time in here in the agenda. But I think the important part is great that we're all kind of on the same page as far as who we felt comfortable with and understood what we wanted with this project. So hopefully if things go right, we get approved for them to kick off. And we've made sure that they know that timeline is of importance to us and that we would like to get it to where we have something to present probably last quarter of the year as far as an actual plan. There is going to be some public input part of it. So that's important for everybody to understand that there is going to be a time for us to have the public come in. They'll probably be in a setting almost just like what we're sitting here as far as like tables
We're
put out.
testing it out.
Yeah, it actually works. I like the way the setup is, to where we can invite the public in, probably prior to this meeting. That way we can kind of be efficient with everybody's time, but have the public come in and get input on what those items are after they've had some time to formulate, some exhibits to present. So that's really our big item on the Community Enhancement Committee. And we're excited about what's going to happen here in the near future. Okay, so that's the committee reports. We will move on now to our items for individual consideration. So first item we have up is discussion of and action on approval of a development agreement request under the Targeted Business Incentive Program made by Ken Dempsey for the development of the Old Town Helotes Family Food Truck Park. So first, I think before we need to open up for a discussion on action of approval. Now, Glenn, just to be clear, on this action of approval, is there a specific amount that's associated with this approval, or how is this motion?
So the way it is written, I think we have it, I have it in there as approval of $50,000.
Okay.
So if there's a different dollar amount, you just have to amend the motion.
Okay. Okay, so there you have it. So if anybody wants to make a motion for discussion of an action on approval as presented or approval as amended, I will entertain those motions now.
I'll make the motion that we discuss it.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, very good. So it's open for discussion. I know Mr. Dempsey's here. Did anybody have any questions for him specifically? Oh, we got it. I know you probably didn't bring any presentation items, but can you give us just a general idea of what the park is going to look like?
Sure.
We see the slabs going up and just kind of trying to understand how it all is going to lay
I'm
out.
not going to play pickleball right now. I thought that was like a little demonstration. Of what
Are you out there playing?
I am. Your guys make me leave when they want to work, but
I know. Ken Dempsey, I live at 14203 Circle A Trail. And I guess I'll give you about just a 2-minute kind of an idea of what we're looked at, because that property I've had it for years. I turned it into a parking lot kind of for Pete's Place and the winery and anybody that wanted to use it. And they came to saying, I've paid taxes for years. Why can't I do something with it?
Right.
I tried to do storage units, and of course, that was not going to work well. You know, I'd have to get permission from neighbors from miles around, so to speak. And that wasn't going to work. And then I looked at doing small offices such as in storage units. And then it was kind of cost prohibitive when you're looking at getting 77 air conditioners. And I just didn't want to go through that. And then I was at Marketplace one day, and somebody said, what this town needs in Old Town is we need more food. So I said, well, why don't we do a food park? And then I started thinking about how to do it. And I thought, well, it's called Family Food Park. And that's what it's designed for. It's for families. There is going to be a bar, and there's going to be an overhang. If you've been at a food truck park like the Block, where you have a bar and then you have an open area, and that's what we're going to have. We're going to have 6 food trucks, at least to start. And we're going to run out of room to do more, but each one is going to be what we call a commissary. So they plug in, I put in a sewer system, an aerobic system. So they stay plugged into the sewer system. We give each one a hose bib for water, and we give each one a 50 amp and a 20 amp plug. So when they pull in there, they may never want to leave,
Right.
but they don't have to. Anyway, from there, then we figured, well, let's make it. So I threw pickleball, which I thought this could work. So we designed 4 pickleball courts in there. And then we're going to have around 5,000 square feet of synthetic grass with a little miniature golf course for the kids or the guys drinking. We're going to have real putters and real golf balls. But with kids, we're going to have wiffle balls.
Right.
And then we have included a couple stand-up sandboxes So instead of the kids sitting in the stand, they can go up and play. You know, we'll have some toys and Walmart stuff, you know, we'll have stuff in there that they can play with, you know. So it's all designed for the kids, you know, and I say for the kids, it's designed for families that can come bring their kids and they can sit and watch them. We don't want you to bring your kids and drop them off and leave, you know, but it's designed for families to come. I figured out Pete's Place, they're open about not wanting families, you know, Wine 101, the country club. I talked to Tammy and she says, why do you want kids, you know? Well, nobody has a place in Old Town that you can actually bring families. So I thought, well, let's turn it into a family complex. And there's a lot of other little things that is going to be that children can play with, you know. It's really a good feeling. You know, it's the same reason that in November I do go to the North Pole and I'm out of pocket for a while and with the elves, but it's still a good feeling. And of course, we're going to have events weekly, such as we would have during the Christmas season. Santa will be there, maybe work with the chamber or something, but we'll have Santa and maybe an elf. Ta-da. But it would be something where families can come. There would be no cost. It would be just for families to take pictures with their own cell phones, you know, something like that. And then I was talking to one of the other businesses about, like on a Saturday afternoon, we might have a s'mores bar set up for families and bring their kids and things like that. And I could go on forever, but if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
I think my biggest question I have is, so obviously you're taking its land. I know it's just been kind of overflow parking for it. So parking wise, I think it's been established. So the parking there behind Pete's, that's public parking, right? Open, no more charging on that parking over there.
I would say currently, I don't know what the future of that will be.
Yeah, we're gonna have some parking along the whole boundary from the back and in behind the pickleball, where I'm really wanting to build an area where people could actually reserve it and have a party of their own. If it was a birthday party for one of your kids, everybody could meet there. They could eat off the food trucks. It's all designed about bringing more people into Old Town.
Parking was my biggest concern in looking at this, is because
Yeah.
we're losing so much. And I've been down there whenever everything's full. But that's typically not.
Yeah, we're gonna lose parking from what we're taking away, but we're still gonna have a row. And we're adding 6 and 5 more here and so
Right.
forth. Council looked at it and said, yeah, but there's a lot of street parking when you see Floor Country Store.
Yeah,
They're
they figure
parked
it
all
out.
over.
Yeah.
I could only hope that we have that problem of people parking at the church, which is public parking. The city has an agreement that they have the parking at the church that they can use, you know.
Okay.
So I do hope we have that problem. And Philip right now, he has removed any idea of charged parking. It is in a difficult situation, you know, because it's his customers that park there, you know.
Right.
So it's,
Didn't you say you were gonna open up the parking at Gardens?
yeah, we have the parking lot on there. It takes care of about 100 cars.
Oh, wow.
And we'll just have right now, people walk through, but we would try to create, I mean, pickleball's a big thing. I'm
Yeah.
almost wanting to fence off part of the gardens and have some more courts.
Yeah.
But
Phase 2.
This has already been through P and Z and council and everything.
yes, yeah, it's all permitted. We're pretty well, you got a picture of it. Yeah, it's pretty much all under construction. The area on the far right, that little square shape, that's some additional parking we put in there. The Spartan that said no parking, that's because the blank spot would be where a food truck would be. And the part on the far left is where I was talking about trying to, when the project is open and going, then we're going to try to turn it into a manicured area for maybe a combination of a dog relief area and a spot for people can use or reserve for their own parties.
The only question I had was just shade. Obviously, we're already 100 degrees in May now, so just shaded areas, areas to cool off, things of that nature.
No, we have in the building in the middle, I can't, what is this, a proposed building?
Yep.
That first part is 40 foot by 25 foot.
Okay,
That's a bar.
yeah,
And then in front of it is another 25 foot by 40 foot. It'll have ceiling fans and it's part of under roof.
okay,
And then but there's 2 trees
Uh-huh.
that are gonna go through the roof
okay,
of the patio.
okay,
And those trees provide shade, actually starting at noon.
yeah,
Up on where the food trucks are gonna be, around that area.
it's great.
We'd like to put in 5 additional trees just to the right side of the pickleball.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. Just gets pretty warm out there in the sun, as we all know.
Yeah, it does.
Mhm.
Are you gonna have a fence around the pickleball court or how are you gonna
Yeah,
keep kids
there's
off?
there's gonna be a fence behind it, probably 8 foot. And then on the side, we'll probably have 6 foot and then a small 4 foot between courts.
Mhm.
Because there's 2, when you look at the pickleball courts, the 2 on the bottom, after, when there's a 18-inch drop for the next 2. And that's because there was such a slope. We didn't want that big of a drop. We already have like a 3.5 foot drop. So we lowered the last 2. And they'll be on the left side, it'll be a continual fence because there is a sizable drop off there. There won't be an entrance in to the courts from the left.
Are you gonna keep operating the gardens as a wedding venue and those type of things as well for the
Yeah,
foreseeable?
yeah, we've got a nice fence put up most of the way. And that was designed in order to separate the wedding venue from the food trucks. And we have two gates, one of which is going to be used when the people come, instead of getting a caterer, we're going to print tickets if they choose, and they can have their guests go to a food truck and get a meal. And the food trucks love it. I mean, we have 3 weddings on a weekend with 150 people, you know.
Yeah. I would be concerned with people, the general public walking through there when you're trying to host an
Well,
event.
we're gonna have a barn door there. It's a
Yes.
6 foot opening, and we're gonna have a sliding barn door
To
that
close that.
we'll keep shut. We don't want the kids from the wedding going in,
Or vice
because their
versa.
parents won't, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have people go to Pete's because maybe they don't have alcohol at their wedding, but yeah, what?
You, I have a question. So as far as the tax revenue projection in here, that mostly is gonna come from food trucks, or is there taxes collected? Like, are you gonna charge for pickleball court usage?
Say that again?
So most of the tax revenue projection, does that come from?
Pete's. Pete?
Is that mostly the bar and the food trucks themselves? Like,
The
is there a
bar and the
charge?
food truck, and I'm not sure pickleball is taxable, so
Okay.
I tried.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I tried to
Yeah.
research it
Good
just
question. Yeah.
as play,
Okay.
but it's primarily the bar. And then I talked to different food trucks already in existing about how much do you sell? And it's amazing how much, the idea that I'm trying to do is get more and more people to attend it. That again would increase sales. See, we got people asking about doing yoga on Saturday morning, you know, and using it as, you know, kind of an every Saturday morning thing. And just to get people coming early and spending the day and.
Yeah, I like that. The picnic area that's indicated on there, kind of the middle to the right of that first pickleball court, is that where you're planning on doing the putt you were saying?
Yeah,
or-
it's gonna be going, the guy came over a couple of days ago and we talked about it. And it's gonna be 15 feet wide and 25 foot long with at least 4 holes. And it's gonna have some undulation to it for the adults that wanna bet $5 whether they can sink the putt or not. Maybe we can make that taxable. But anyway, and then of course, we'll have it fenced off, especially there, so the kids, we don't give the kids real golf balls. I mean, we can't do that. They'll be breaking windows. But yeah, it's gonna be more in the area. You see that little white dip down there? Along the parking and to the right, then you see a little, that's kind of, it's gonna be in that area closer toward the parking spots.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious if that area was that where people gonna sit to eat the food they're presumably getting at the food trucks, right?
We're gonna have most of the tables over on, it's, what you see is darkened by the food truck is
Mhm.
granite. Cause I
Gotcha.
didn't want to put grass and let the trucks drip
Yeah,
and stuff. So that'll be a lot of the seating. But as any place, they can have the right to move them. And where it says picnic area, that's just all gonna be synthetic grass.
I think my only concern other than the parking situation, I agree with that because I office nearby here and have seen it on busy days, but I would think one of the closer competitors is the Divide up at Babcock and Scenic Loop,
Mhm.
which started off with a number of food trucks. And then I happened to go there for the first time a few weeks ago, and there was one, not even a truck was open. There was a cart selling hot dogs. Was the only thing they
You're
had there.
talking
And there was
about
a
at
bar.
Babcock off of Scenic Loop?
Yeah, we're Babcock
Yeah.
and Scenic Loop, T-end right there. And so my concern is that these food trucks come in to the newest place, right? They try to kind of suck the revenue out that they can, and then when they slow down, they move on type of thing. So
It's.
I'm glad you have the pickleball courts because they have nothing else other than a bar there. And so that's what it was. It was just people there drinking is all it was.
That's
So,
really what it is. I've talked to food trucks. I went to Alamo Ranch area. Somebody said, you need to go there. It's beautiful. Well, I went and talked to one of the guys. They weren't all open.
mhm.
And he said, basically, they're not doing anything for them.
Mm.
You know, at the time, they had 3 picnic tables. And I mean, they may be doing more now, but then they were gonna charge more because they were gonna bring somebody singing on Friday nights or something. But you gotta give something for the people to come
Mhm.
and wanting to stay. If the kids are happy, the parents are gonna stay.
Right.
So are you charging the food trucks like a rental fee to?
The food trucks will pay a fee.
Okay, is that taxable?
I don't know if it is. Of course, we'll have to pay taxes on it.
I don't think there's a sales tax on that. That'd be like.
I gotcha.
You know,
That's just.
Well, the leasing of it might be,
Be another interesting to look at.
yeah.
I mean, I don't think your projections are that far off, you know, it's you got a minimum and a max in there, between 30 and 60,000 for the trucks and then 6,000 to 10,000 for the, what did you know, Glenn, off the top of your head, what we collect annually, and just right now in, beverage tax?
We were just looking at that this afternoon.
is it a mix, is it gonna be a mixed beverage or is it beer only
To start with, it's gonna be beer and
Okay.
wine only.
to start with? Okay.
Yeah.
So there won't be any mixed beverage on that then? If it's just beer and wine?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, because the beer and wine, well,
There's still,
There's
still
still-
should be a sales tax associated with it.
There's regular sales tax, but I don't think there's the extra one on that.
right. Gotcha. But I think right now what he's calculating is just 300,000 and,
Right.
yeah, just beer and wine.
What's your goal date for opening?
First, about the middle of August. We've had to push it back a couple weeks. One of the contractors is a little slow.
They all are.
Yeah.
I like the idea for what it's worth. I think, I mean, I've lived in Helotes since 2018 and I hear the same things. There's not enough food. There's not enough this. And I think usually people are quick to bring problems and not solutions. So I'm bored. I mean, I'm inspired by the entrepreneurship that I see, and whether things work or not. I mean, that's not always 100% in our control, but the effort, you know, and the trying something is admirable, I think. So I'm excited for what it's worth. You guys can park by my office if you want. It's like one spot. Actually, it's a mess over there. You wouldn't want to park there, but it's
Fight you.
I'm excited for you.
You know, people are excited, even in the area you were at. I was talking to Caesar and Rosie,
Mhm.
and they're designing the courtyard now so people can go get food and take it back and do their own function in their courtyard.
Yeah, meet their financial line, all that stuff. So no, it's good.
What are you thinking the hours of operation would be?
They can go anytime they want because everything's handled automatic as far as signing up for pickleball. The food trucks, the only food truck I'm going to require to open early on weekends, like for a Saturday, is the taco truck. The rest of them, it's their business. They run their business. But if they don't make money, they'll, and it's gonna, there's a program they're under. They have to stay 3 months for $1,000 a month. And then it goes up after that. And and again, I'm maybe it's a pie in the sky, but people are calling already wanting to book time for league play.
Oh, nice.
And we don't even have the concrete poured yet, But I mean, we're anticipating the problem that you're saying with the parking. I mean, we're hoping that is a problem. Because that means to me, it's a perfect thing at the perfect time.
You're gonna have lights out there for shorter days in the fall and whatnot.
There's going to be 6 light standards, and doing research and never playing pickleball, there's all kinds of standards when you build the courts. And one of them is the better qualified of the player, the more lighting that they're required to have. So we tried to design these that they're going to be top of the line pickleball courts. It's supposed to be, it's designed so it's a U.S. Pickleball Corporation. It's a nationwide organization that sets the standards. So we have to use a certain paint, when we paint them, and
Oh, sure. Okay.
it's pretty exciting. It's kind of like, who'd have ever thought?
Yeah.
Who'd have ever thought you can come up with something like this?
Well, I think, my thoughts on it always, I think it's a great thing for the city. It fits in line with what our strategic plan has been of bringing more entertainment, food to Old Town. So I think it fits within that range. Obviously, we're collecting some property tax on it now, but some getting some sales tax out of it. And even I think this is probably going to go up in property taxes.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I think it's overall is going to be good for us in that sense
I
as well.
won't tell if you don't.
I won't. Well, you just had to talk to that dang appraiser. Tell him if you find out who it is, let him know. Next time it goes to my house. But yeah, I like it. So really, I mean, we're at the nuts and bolts of things of like, so just to make sure when we're doing the calculations here, right, Mr. Dempsey, your total cost is right under 327,000 estimated.
That's correct.
Okay. So the question then comes to everybody is going to be, we haven't, it's kind of strange, right? On our tenant improvement program, we have set amounts that are based upon certain criteria and a scoring system. But when it comes, falls under our developer incentive program, which really we don't have a whole lot of set rules and metrics on. So it really comes down to a level of comfort of what everybody feels. And I'm not saying this is going to set the precedent for the world. Every case is different. For sure. But there's got to be some thoughts into of what the amount of the incentive we're going to get into in terms of both the overall cost of the project and also what the potential revenue is. So a lot to weigh in there. And so really it's not to put the pressure on you, John, but it's your motion, the discussion and approval. So and Mr. Dempsey, I don't want to keep you standing at the stand. I think anybody got any more questions for Ken? Good. No. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's what it really comes down to is what does everybody feel comfortable with on that, the amount in terms of generated revenue and cost of project, total cost of project.
Being that I made the motion, I made it because I'm comfortable with that number. I was actually in Old Town there today, just incidentally meandering around. And I think having this attraction is going to benefit not only Mr. Dempsey and what he's got going on here, but pretty much everything on that end of Old Town. We've often been proposed, requested, asked to get something that has that half of Old Town more involved. And I think that this is a step in that direction of trying to do something there. So I would prefer to not amend my motion and leave it at $50,000.
Okay. Well, that makes it simple then. Just want to make sure, I think Greg, you had the second on it. Austin, sorry, Austin, you had the second. So,
I agree with John wholeheartedly.
okay. So then this just goes to vote then. We have a motion for approval of $50,000 and a second. All those in favor say
We
aye.
have some discussion on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
Before we
see
call
any
the question.
reason. Yeah, I don't see any reason why we can't. Yeah, we're information for Mr. Dempsey. So yeah, we can discuss around that.
I am not comfortable with the 50 myself. I think it's a good project. I think it does have a potential to bring a lot of people in. I'm just not comfortable with 50 on something that we don't know for sure is going to do it. It's a new business model, so to speak. It's not like it's something that's tried and true that we know is going to work. I'm more comfortable in the 25 to 30,000 range myself.
Okay. Not trying to get everybody's vote out here, but does anybody have any discussion on it? Greg, you have anything to add?
I was kind of looking at, minimum tax revenue on the food trucks is 30,000, max is 60,000. I mean, that's to kind of get it off the ground, first year. So, I mean, I think I'm kind of in between there. I'm thinking more between 30 and 50 would be.
Where did the 50 come from is my question. Where did that number, who?
It was the
Proposed.
Oh, okay, that's the request. It wasn't based on some formula.
We have no formula. Yeah,
Okay, I see, okay.
we have no formula. Yeah, really, and this is actually the first one that we've had.
Yes.
Actually come to us. So, yeah, it always makes it interesting in that the first one, because there's obviously, again, I don't think this sets a precedent. Everyone stands opposite, and it's always got to be thought of what's in the best interest of the public because this is their money. So we want to make sure we're being cognizant of that. So,
Can you advise what we have earmarked in our budget for this incentive program?
Right now, we have 300,000.
Thank you.
Do we have any other businesses that are also looking?
Yes. Timing of the request is a little unknown right now. It could be as early as the next meeting, or it could be as late as August or September.
That 300 includes tenant improvement, correct? Or is that
No,
just
it
for
does
this?
Separate just for this.
Just for this? Okay.
yeah, and I think we actually had 300 from last year that we did not use that carried over.
That is correct.
That's a fiscal year for us ending in September.
Yes. Yeah, end of September.
I already agree with John, but just to expand on, I think, the budget aside, I think, kind of tying into my comments earlier, I think signaling to potential entrepreneurs, various businesses that we're serious about trying as best as possible to partner with innovators and entrepreneurs to really shape Helotes into what we'd like it to be long term. I think, yeah, I mean, it's not a small amount of money. I definitely see that 25 to 50, but I do think 50 signals a certain amount of seriousness and 2-year, let's say 2-year, worst case 3-year sales tax recovery on the project. I mean, I think that's reasonable expectation for recovery. But I think, again, I would just tie it back into what I said earlier. So not to beat a dead horse, but I think I hear a lot of things in Old Town or in Helotes in general. Lots of ideas float out there. I think there's some solid messaging to be put out there of just, hey, if you're serious about an idea, you want to put up what the difference would be, 270, of your own money, and have the city get 50. I think that's a reasonable roll of the dice, if you will, even on an unproven idea, even if food trucks don't work out, or I don't know, whatever might work out. I think there's enough outs and potential flexibility that come with the pickleball and versatility that can be marketed different ways. I think it's an interesting concept. I do like the 50 for what it's worth.
If we want to look at a different figure in a way to kind of combat that, even moving forward too, when looking at this program, realize we're not trying to set a precedent, we're not going to, but I look at it as a percentage of the project too, as far as the total cost and what we're giving. So, we'll far exceed 15% with this amount, 15% of the project total. 15% to me does seem a little high. Because then if we have these coming, they could be much bigger numbers. And how do we justify one over the other? I mean, it's a dollar amount, I understand, but
So right now you have
again,
a
seems more in
motion
line.
and a second on the floor. So if there's no other discussion, then you'd call the vote.
Just call the vote. Now, if for some reason, the vote fails, can somebody make another motion? Okay. All right, well then let's go with the 51st and see what happens. So the motion on the floor right now is approval of $50,000 developer incentive for this project. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
All right, so we have 3 nays, so that motion fails. Now, I will entertain another motion then for an amended,
A different amount.
a different amount.
Motion.
They said it was gonna be 327. So I would say we come back at 32.7 then, that's 10%.
10%.
That'd be 32.7. So I move that we move forward with approval of 32,700.
Okay, I have a second.
I'll second that.
Hello, okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
All right, so ayes have it, so it is approved for 32,700. All right, I think that's the first split vote we've had in a long time, which is good.
Mhm.
Split votes is good. I thought you were gonna, good thing Melissa's not here. I might have been on the hot seat. I got it easy. Okay, good, very good. Well, thank you, Mr. Dempsey, for joining us today, and hopefully this will help you out with your project. And we're all excited about it. All excited about it. All right, now we will move on to our next item for individual consideration. Let's see, sorry. Okay. All right, we're on item number 7 now. Discussion of an action approval of an agreement with Burdick Consulting for the development of a master plan for Helotes Fitness Park and disc golf course. So I will entertain a motion for discussion on action of approval on the agreement.
I'll motion for discussion action.
Okay, so it is now open for discussion. I don't believe we have anybody from Mr. Burdick's firm here, right?
No,
Oh, we need a second, sorry.
Second.
Okay, I have a second. I don't believe you have anybody from Mr. Burdick's here, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and just go around the board. Jeff, we'll start off with you with questions, concerns.
My only concern is that they are not here in San Antonio. I mean, they were still my first pick, but that's really the only concern that I had about it. I think they've got a very good package that they've come together here with. And I think that having the professional plan developed is going to just be best in the long run, because then even if we do it in stages, we know what's going to happen, and we're not going to do something and then tear it up later on.
Yeah.
So.
Greg?
My biggest concern is the dollar amount, to be honest. Just based on what our conversations were prior to, and we're looking at 3 times that.
Right.
4 times that. I mean, I like them. I think that, they're gonna put together a good package, but that's not even putting a shovel in the ground yet.
Yeah.
That's where my biggest concern is right now.
Okay. John?
The only concern I have is the dollar amount. I mean, reading through, they have a very detailed proposal layout and really timeline of what they're going to deliver, when and how. So although I wasn't part of the committee, so I can't speak to what the other folks were submitting, it would be really hard to beat this proposal aside from the dollar amount. This is a significant amount of money for plans and moving forward. I do spend a lot of time at the disc golf course. I'm there almost every day. I would love to see it developed into something more. I think it's a great area and a great little corner of Helotes that is a kind of a secret. So it's nice to have it more to myself than whatever we develop. So I do support developing it, but I do think that we need a plan, but I'm very concerned about the cost of that plan.
Okay. Joel?
I'll echo the same thing. I mean, I haven't been in the meetings as far as discussing this master plan, but I do agree that we need one to make sure that all of our pieces fit together cohesively in the money that we're going to spend to create or enhance the park there. But I would say that the price seems quite high for that. So I don't know what our options are. So hopefully the committee will have some suggestions on either way to get this price down, or if there's other considerations we need to be making. We'll hopefully have some other input there for that.
Okay, Austin, any input on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is an ocean I have not swam in, so I would be kind of make this up a little bit as I go, trying to understand like what's normal for cities.
Right.
Cities normally hire consultants to do master planning on parks.
Yeah, I can say the master plans we've done in the past, even for the kind of pre-annexation master plan, that cost us over $45,000. So with the level of work, I think that this firm is proposing to do, the timeline, proposing 3 different concepts, I think it's commensurate with what they're asking. You realistically, I would say the range is probably 30 to 50,000 in general of what it would cost. So if you do not, the one way to reduce this price would be to reduce the amount of deliverables they're presenting.
Right, the scope.
Right, the scope of work. If that's not an option, you could approve this, take it to council, see what they do. You could deny it. If you deny it, then we have to negotiate with another firm. There's no guarantees the other firm's going to be any less.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just kind of a risk.
I'll give you my thoughts on it. So at first, so I come from the professional services world. So, I've seen proposals in the small ranges up to very, very large ranges. And it's really hard to put a metric right on what that is. But usually what you try to look at is your professional services, your design services should be in the range of 10 to 15% of what your hard costs are. It's just it's kind of a thumb test to see if you're there. So it really comes down to, do we think now this won't be our only professional service fee that we have. This is to come up with a master plan whenever if there's something that we need to do that requires actually some type of permitting documents, whether it be for the parking lot or whether it be any structures that we're building that are going to need to be permitted. This is not, it's important for everybody to know that this is not the last time that we're going to need professional services associated with this project. This is to come up with the master plan. Now, if one of those is simple as, well, here's a good spot for, here's where some play equipment should go and it should be in this age range. And here's some companies that that you can go talk to. Yeah, that part's pretty turnkey and simple, right? It's whenever you start constructing things that you usually have to bring in either civil engineers or structural engineers involved with that. So I'm not saying that this is 38,250 is going to be 10% of everything that we're going to spend in professional services on this project. Now, the question really comes to, though, what are we going to spend ultimately in construction dollars? That is really an unknown of what this could be. I know if I have my mind in it, it's probably in that $300,000 to $400,000 range. It's insane, but a parking lot, and as I'm sure Mr. Dempsey will tell you, a parking lot is not cheap. Even if you're just and really, there could be even improvements to the existing parking lot of making it into asphalt instead of the dusty gravel that's there today. And so we all know construction costs are going up daily, and it's something that we're going to have to be prepared for in this project. Now, we've kind of thrown around numbers of what we want to put in our budget. In fact, I haven't even looked at in our budget here. What do we have, Lynn, today? in our proposed budget?
Oh, for today, I was gonna say what we have this year. We have 37.7.
Well, there you go. Maybe we just get it to that number.
So what we have in our current budget.
How did we get to 37?
So is this negotiable?
It somewhat is. I will say the first number, when we did meet with them the second time, they were up north of 40. And so we've worked them down at least a little bit on it. Is there more room to move? Possibly. There's possibility of us moving that down. I will, again, putting on my professional consultant hat. Usually what that involved, whenever anybody tried to bring me down in pricing, I just took off scope. You know, I took off deliverables, and that was the way that I said, well, I'm just not going to spend as much time as you are. So I think there is some things in here that maybe can be taken out. I fear of going into some certain things of trying to take things out and then later on saying, oh, well, I told you we needed to do that later, and we're going to hit you with an additional service request, and we get back to the same number anyways. So that's something to think about as well. Glenn, what do we have?
It's 37,741.
That's so strange. What do we have in our proposed budget as far as park?
For next year, we kind of just put a place filler in there. Most I thought we did. Maybe we did not.
Nothing under a community enhancement, same code?
No, on that same code, it's not. I'll go back and check. Yeah, currently, there's nothing in there.
What would that fall under then if we do something next fiscal year? Where would we get the money to do it?
You know, we'd have to,
Do a budget adjustment?
we'll add it into this proposed budget. We just pick a dollar amount. Right now, I have it listed under capital improvements.
Okay. You know, my thoughts on it is, you know, we're just building play equipment nowadays is, you know, $50,000. Seems like a nice round number that they play equipment guys like to use. But I could see this being a 5-year program that, you know, I think could get up in the $300,000 range all in over a 5-year period.
Hey, Blaine, I'm sorry, I just found it. We added a new line item for parks and playground equipment for next year. It's 125,000.
Wow, okay. Okay, so the options that we have is approving this as is. Option 2 is going back to this same consultant and seeing if we can get a better price. And option 3 is saying we're going to move on to second consultant. And again, that if we move on to second consultant and get a price, then if we go that route, Glenn, is there now going back?
Correct.
Okay,
Because then you're shopping on price. I mean,
I gotcha. Right, that's the other thing you gotta be careful of. Yeah, for professional services, it's not based upon pricing. There's no low bid process in professional services. All you can do is either negotiate it lower
Yeah,
or,
if you wanted to go initially, go back to your first choice, you'd have to rebid the project,
gotcha.
new solicitations, and then do it. Yeah.
Good point.
Can I ask a couple questions there real quick? So next year, the budget, like you said, 125,000,
Mhm.
but this potential improvement, multi-stage improvement would be 125 over multiple year, or it'd be 125, let's say 2025, and then again 2026.
Yeah.
So do we have an idea of like what the total outlay cost will be for, like, are we shooting for $300,000 to $400,000 to get back to your 10 to 15%?
You're
We just
right.
have no idea.
Well, I thought that the city was carrying half of the load
That's another good, is that,
regardless.
do we know if that's?
Is that not?
It's something we've
correct?
discussed.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
no
I thought
agreement.
that was an understanding already, that
Yeah, I don't think it's a guarantee on that.
Part of all of that comes from the proposal. And somebody in the city, not just EDC or council or anyone, having an idea of what is going to happen with that property. From there, we can go into discussions of how much and who's going to pay.
Correct.
But this is the first step. I have a hard time paying this much money to somebody to give us an idea on paper whenever we just strip $17,000 from a resident who's actually doing something. I have a very hard time with it.
That's a good point.
Could we go back to them and have them give us price on giving us 2 deliverables versus 3?
Sure. I'm trying to think of what would be the items.
Because weren't they gonna do 3 different plans?
Yeah.
Yeah, take it down to 2 concepts.
Did you say, Craig, for city council, Mr. Sanders is also on this committee?
Yes.
So it's a little collaboration. That's good.
Soames is also.
That's good.
Yeah, it's a joint committee between the city council and us.
I do think that, I mean, John just made a great point. I do think, and we were talking about this proposal is for more than we just awarded to a project happening in the city. It's noteworthy.
They're very different projects, so.
Okay. I don't have a problem going back and asking for more, you know, doesn't hurt. I think timeline wise, it won't hurt us all that bad. You know,
It
the
won't be
idea
this
was,
fiscal year then,
yeah,
because
We'll be
by the
out
time
of-
we approve it in July, then August on council, and that, it puts it in next fiscal year. So the fourth quarter of this year.
right. Which would be okay. Then that 37.7 would just not carry over, but it would,
We would have to budget, yeah.
right. And then we would have to remember that we need to fit whatever we do end up getting for professional services, plus whatever, you know, it may hamstring us a little bit of what we have for construction for next year. So we just got to keep that in mind. But again, if we don't know, we don't know what we don't know, right? We don't know what we're going to spend. on-
Yeah, that was part of our committee when we talked about it, was we
Yeah.
don't know what this total cost is gonna be
Yeah.
until we have a plan.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Otherwise, we're just throwing darts at the wall with numbers.
I am 100% on board and in agreement with that.
So
And
that's why
I'm very, very much in support of getting this proposal done. It's only the numbers I have a problem. I've supported this for far longer than what we've talked about as a board.
Right.
So, no, I agree.
Any idea what would be like, you go back again, I understand the scope and redefining that and bringing down the cost that way, but like, well, apples to apples, similar scopes. I mean, what's the range we're talking about? Like you pick another group and I mean, I know it's hard to project, but
It's really hard to say, Austin. I mean, I will say, because again, in the civil engineering world, you would have civil engineering X and Y, and they could be 3 times different, you know, just based upon if you're using the really good ones or the really bad ones, you know, it's, to put it plainly.
you said everybody on the committee scored these people.
Very the highest.
Yeah, they were definitely, they're a good company. There's
This
no
was,
doubt.
they went out there and
Great
actually, for just the RFP, they went out and interviewed people at the park and talked to engaged people there as part of
their proposal included photos of the park and where they had gone and, like you said, gone and talked to people, whereas other ones
just gave us a plate.
just gave us a handwritten note. Here's what we would do.
Here's all the stuff we've done before, you know, and it's like, that's
So-
great, but
They've already put some legwork in on this for the proposal.
yeah, and there may be some of that in this number, you know, maybe trying to recover a little bit of that time. It's not beyond professionals to do that. So,
John has a motion.
yeah, so John, your motion is for approval. Now you can amend if you wanted to put a number, or you could, what are the other options that we have here, Glenn?
Amend, or we just call the vote as is.
Okay,
Sitting here thinking what to do about it. I mean, I cannot stress enough that I am in agreement that we need a master plan for this property. I don't know how much we're going to spend into it. I can comfortably see how we would put between 300,000 and 500,000 into it over a period of years, not all in one shot, of course. But man, that just seems like a lot of money for ideas on paper. But hearing that the committee unanimously picked these folks and obviously talked to a number of other people and did their due diligence, and hearing from the board and that they think that that is at least a relatively fair number, I will not amend my motion, and I say just go for it.
okay. And is my second still good?
It's great.
Greg?
I'm torn, honestly. The dollar amount is what's killing me.
Mhm.
I feel like it should just get lowered and see if you can negotiate it and what we can get for that. I think it needs to get renegotiated. I don't think I can second the full amount. It's just too much.
Okay.
Do you
It's
want,
gonna get kicked back to us.
do you want to, well, if we amend it, then it's going to be another month, but do you want to amend it to just have 2 deliverables instead of 3?
I think that'd be smart, just because I believe that the way it sits right now, if we approve it right now, it's gonna go to council, gonna get kicked back to us anyway. So we're gonna lose the time there. I'd rather spend that time in renegotiating something that's a little bit more feasible.
Do you want to set a not to exceed limit? Dollar amount?
That's what I was just thinking.
I don't think.
Do that, then we could, me and Blaine can negotiate and then take it straight to council.
What do you want?
I think not to exceed.
Yeah, of what? Yeah, that's, I mean, I have no,
What's your profession?
yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it's possible to get it down to 30. You know, there may be.
30?
Yeah, I think there may be something that we have to give up in it, but I think it's possible.
And I'm comfortable giving up one of the deliverables. on there,
Yeah.
You know, just to
Yeah.
make it 2.
I agree.
I'm okay with that. All right, so let me amend then.
Okay.
Request for renegotiation of lowering the price not to exceed $30,000, including the change of going from 3 to 2 deliverables.
I'll second that motion.
You like that?
All right.
And when we're talking about deliverables, we're talking about site plans.
Proposals, yeah, proposals, yeah.
Yeah, because they have up to 3 now. We'll just tell them up to 2.
But even if we have 2, we have something to work, we have 2 different things to work with, and we can be like, I like this, I like that.
Yeah.
I like this, I like that.
Normally, I will, again, coming from the professional world, usually your first gut instinct of what you think is usually the best anyways. And the second one is just more of a, well, what ifs.
Sure.
Everybody hates the first idea. So,
Well, and if you have 2 choices, that may be too hard to pick.
Correct.
Yeah. If you narrow it down to just 2, I think it's a lot easier.
okay.
Do Henry Ford anything with life.
All right. So we have an amended motion for us to negotiate not to exceed 30. We have a second for that amended motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. All right. Good discussion. All right.
That was a rough one.
Yeah, it's not easy tonight.
Yeah, it's a hard night tonight.
Yeah. All right. So hopefully this is an easy one. Discussion of an action on approval of sponsorship for the 2024 Helotes Chambers 0.5K in Old Town.
I'll recuse myself, of course.
Okay. So we have a recusal from Director.
We were ultimate procrastinators last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
We were, yes.
Okay. So I need
Do we
a,
need to decide on
Yeah.
this tonight?
well, I need to open it up for discussion first. So I need a motion for discussion of an action on approval. Now you say of sponsorship, Glenn, are you saying a specific sponsorship of this on this item?
Of the ultimate procrastinator, 3,500.
That's at the very bottom of it. Oh, it's here on the executive
Oh, it's in
summary.
the,
It's in the.
Okay.
executive summary.
All right, so everybody knows this is for the same one we did last year, which was the ultimate. So I need a motion for discussion and action of approval.
I'll motion.
Okay,
And I'll second.
all right, we have a motion and second. So it is open for discussion. So yeah, I think we answered the question. This is the same one we did last year.
yes, sir.
All right. And when is the date?
October 19th.
All right, so we might have food trucks by then.
That'd be a great finish.
You may have
Yeah.
to change this from a 0.5 to a 0.75. Just to get them up there.
A little bit longer.
A little bit longer so they can get there.
All right, well, good. I think our sponsorship went a long way last year. I think it's a great event. It brings a ton of people to Old Town and they do stick around Old Town for the entire event and thereafter. So I have no issues. Is anybody on the board? Obviously, Director Lane's out. Joel, any concerns?
Not necessarily concerns. I mean, I like the event. I think it's a great one for Old Town. It's great for a lot of other people who are not typical runners. And I think the kids enjoy it. The costumes, I mean, feedback for the chamber and what I think would really make it that much better is just, you know, more people, more participation in the actual things that are going on there, whether that's the costume contest or the different things and really making it, you know, family centric. I've been to some other events similar to this, not a run, but something else. And really the whole community was coming out and participating in it. And it was, you know, it was really neat to see that. And so really just trying to get the local community as much as people outside of the city involved with it. Not for the fact of running a 0.5K even, but more of just a like a market days type of, you know, event for the city. An idea that I had too, based on some of the other ones I've been to, is they actually had a real race prior to the fun race.
Okay,
Fun race being the 0.5K. They actually had a 5K and some other competitions going on prior to it. And it brought in other people who are actually competitors that boosted their numbers quite a bit. And that just, to me, I thought of this event actually and thinking, man, that'd be a great way to get additional people who don't want to come and run a 0.5K, but they run 5Ks all the time. And they might come to the city to participate in this, stick around for this event, or at least visit our local businesses in that area, right? I'm just really trying to think about pumping those numbers up as far as an event goes. So I like it. I'm glad we're supporting it, hopefully.
yeah. My question, we have a 10 by 10 vendor space. Do you think we could actually utilize that? Maybe have an EDC?
Metals, Fiesta metals.
Come see or maybe we have some marketing material for the business center
Or the bricks.
and the bricks. Yeah,
It might be close to the time frame of the artwork.
yeah, it'll be close.
To get a little more updated further along, but it's gonna be
Yeah,
close.
I think if we get the space, I've got a 10 by 10 tent if we need one. Might be an A&M tent, but look good. Okay, any further discussion? All right, so we have a motion for approval of sponsorship at the Ultimate Procrastinator sponsorship of $3,500 and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. All right, that was an easy one. Good.
Easy.
Needed a softball. All right, we have last, not so easy, discussion of and direction on developing the fiscal year end 2025 operating budget and setting a public hearing date. So this is just, there's no approval or disapproval. This is just open for discussion and give some direction. So I need a motion.
Motion for discussion of proposed budget.
Okay, we have
Second.
a motion and a second. So let's go through discussion. Glenn, why don't we start with you just to give us some background?
Sure. So one thing that I will definitely point out is kind of the year-to-date sales tax revenue for this fiscal year, which is below where we anticipated. Sales in general across the board are down, but in particular, one sales tax producer has almost been cut in half from where they were last year. We didn't anticipate that much of a drop. We figured there would be some drop, 15 to 20%, but we've seen greater. So next year, we've decided to kind of carry that forward where we think we're going to hit this year. So 2.5 million on projected sales tax. Keep in mind, out of that 2.5 million, we're looking at, let's see, still about 1 million of it goes back as a 380 reimbursement. So we only have 1.5 net to work with in the budget. So most of the line items we went through and just carried over from this year to next year. The main area that got a little reduced was the new development incentive. We took it from 300 down to 200. But that was also in an effort to increase the playground, our parks and playground equipment budget to 125,000.
Okay.
We're gonna have some of that visitor expenditures this year's too, though. Correct?
Yes, yeah, for this fiscal year, the visitor center, at least construction equipment, all that kind of stuff, it will be finished this fiscal year. So anything carried over to the future, I haven't had a chance to reach out to the auditor to figure out how we need to reconcile the books and if we need to separate the visitor center operations from the EDC, but the finance committee had discussed that, ways to just keep it transparent. So we'll have a better idea probably next month on that particular one. But most everything is, again, standard over the last 4 years. Programs that we've done, if we want to continue the e-commerce grant, the tenant improvement grant. I do have a proposal in here to increase marketing and tourism I think we can try to help some of our businesses. I know the retail and restaurant sector is definitely stressed, not just here, but all across San Antonio. You can see a number of closures every month. So I think anything we can do to help try to increase traffic could help stave off some closures here.
So are we just talking about it right now?
Yes, sir.
Is as I saw on the initial the recommendation for public hearing, is this something we take back to the finance committee? I don't, well, we already talked about this a little bit, so.
Okay. We can set the public hearing date here tonight. I mean, we want to do it. It could give us, if we go to the end of July, it'll give us another opportunity to have an open session discussion about the budget and finalize. So part of the public hearing, we have to identify anything we want to consider spending money on. The specific dollar amounts can change in the budget, but the public hearing has to identify the project. And if you don't include it, then you'll have to do another public hearing and you have to wait 60 days before you can expend any funds.
And the best example of that would be for the new development incentive if someone came in requesting larger than what we have budgeted.
Yeah, but like tonight, if we hadn't have put new development incentive in the budget for 24, Mr. Dempsey, we'd have to have done a public hearing, wait 60 days.
Sure, but I'm saying that workflow that you're talking about in this instance would only kick in if someone, as an example, would go over that 200. Okay.
Yeah. The only worry I have in that, Glenn, is do we think 200 is enough considering the projects that are out there?
Yeah.
And that was discussed amongst us at the finance committee, and we were comfortable with that, knowing that we would have to go back and ask for more if that came about. Okay.
Yeah, but there's also gonna be splits and things like that with some of the stuff, so none of that's an iron out.
Yeah.
I think it just start at a starting number.
This is a starting number, and this year presented balanced budget, right? Based on the revenues and expenditures. The last couple of years, we have transferred monies from reserves into the operating budget to cover projected, right?
Right.
Incentives.
And what's our current in reserves?
3.8.
3.88.
I would like for probably, I guess it'd fall under the governance committee maybe to look at 5230, the marketing and city events. To see I'm just kind of curious what kind of marketing we're getting with that.
Okay.
That's the $50,000 one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's good, yeah. Nothing this year,
Yeah, we spent 50 in 21, 22. We spent 50 in 22, 23.
Yeah, so far that it doesn't look like they've done the transfer, but that's kind of been the issue this year.
Okay, so that's actually what we're giving to.
Correct.
Okay.
earmark for that.
It's earmarked.
Yeah, so Jeff's question is, what's the
What's it
ROI? Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know.
I mean, I know that includes, I think, is the professional services included in that they do?
No, professional services.
No, does that include like the professional services for payroll and stuff like that? Is that in part of that?
Well, the 50, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah, event planning. So not for me, but from the city staff side, right? The public relations and event coordinator covers part of her salary. Yeah.
What part falls under where they do the payroll and all that stuff for
For
us?
us, that's the management services agreement, and that.
It's 5214, 30,000.
1,000, yeah.
30,000. Okay.
Yeah, the 50 is just marketing.
Yeah, I would like both of those items to be looked at.
Okay.
I guess that was finance maybe committee or governance committee or.
Might be a little bit of both.
Yeah. So what's the difference between
But
marketing?
then you gotta be
and
careful though, right? Because you can't
marketing
bring them
and
both
city
together.
events?
So the marketing and
Maybe
city
one and the
events
same?
was a separate contract with the city of Helotes to do only city events. So it's marketplace, Carnival Parade in particular, does not include, yeah, Christmas Parade doesn't include the 4th of July festival.
Are you looking at 5211? Is that what you're looking at, John?
Yeah.
Or Gregory?
Mhm.
So that's 84,000 for that one?
No, that's our,
That's our version. That's not one to the city. That's
yeah, the
ours.
one you originally said was what they're talking about. The 5230.
Because the 5211 is the one that we use for YOLO and that type of stuff.
Just like what we just approved right now. For the
Mhm.
point.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Comes out of that.
Yes, comes out of that.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
That one we actually upped.
Yes, you just want that number quantified.
So would the direction be on the new development incentive to go ahead and increase that lane, since we do anticipate?
I'm kind of with them. Let's use this as a starting point because we're gonna have to go to council on it anyways. And we could just go with a whole budget adjustment and because it's such a large amount of money. I kind of want it to be, if somebody does come for that much money, I kind of want it to be very open and
Hard.
Very
yeah,
transparent.
very transparent.
Because if it is over that 200, then we have to go to the city council for budget approval, correct?
Yes, sir.
And,
But
Doesn't have to have
we
a-
need it anyways because it's over 50.
Right.
and open hearing.
Yeah,
And an open hearing and everything.
We may have to do that too, yeah.
but I'd rather it be in that format anyways.
Right.
It's more transparent.
Yeah. I think it all looks, Glenda, is there anything, my question would be then, and for the visitors and business center,
Mhm.
do we need to put in, I don't know if I would call it operating expenses. I mean, is that all accounted for in just your different line items in here?
Yeah,
It seems like it should have its own.
it does have its own line item, put 20,000 in there, looking at what.
Okay, what we had put in our budget.
Overhead expenses. were.
Okay,
Yeah,
where's that at? I'm sorry if I missed it.
2275.
5228.
228.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
So I kept our operating expenses, the 5302, relatively the same, from where we are currently, and then for next year, and that covering basics, for EDC operations. And everything else will be rolled into the visitor center.
I like the fact that they came up with balance without having to roll anything forward that we didn't spend.
yeah, if we end up having leftover this year, then it will just show up.
Right.
It just goes into the reserves. Last question, Glenn, debt service 5215, that 332,000, that's a hard number based on our current payback schedule on our certificate of obligation.
Yeah, I'm gonna go pull it from the records to figure out the exact amount.
Okay.
Because it does vary slight, about
By year.
$1,000 every year.
Yeah. Okay.
I rounded up just slightly for that one. And then that one actually expires too in 2027. Will be the last
Yay,
payment.
we're almost there. Almost out of debt.
That's, did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, so we have a current that actually comes back from those old sewer projects, so.
Okay. Oh, I see. So that's different from obviously 5503.
Yes.
Okay.
So are you good with, I guess, doing the notice after the next EDC meeting? So somewhere on or around July 31st, and then do a public hearing on August 21st, 2024 for the EDC?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it would be good. This is
I won't be
more
on
of just a sidebar, and it may be on the finance committee side, but I know that there's been requests from some of the council to be involved maybe in looking at some of these budget items. Has that been explored?
Yeah, so after tonight, this budget will go to finance director. He will review it potentially with Marion or Rich, and then they're gonna have start scheduling meetings So we may have a presentation, kind of a draft proposal to council. That's why we wanted to get it on this agenda quick.
Okay.
And then we'll go twice before council and do a presentation.
All right, so we don't have any action, so we're not going to take a vote on it. So with that, we will now have our staff reports. All right, Glenn, where do we stand? Besides you sitting in a gym right now.
Yeah, it looks and smells like it. So our,
Oh,
anybody
yes.
saw today?
Hold on. Sorry,
Oh,
sorry. My VP, who's always ahead of the game,
Thank you, John.
to me, reminded me that we have item number 4 that we pulled from the consent that we need to come back to. So, Jeff, I know you had some questions about.
Yeah, my questions were the fact that we hadn't received the deposit again and that the interest still wasn't posted.
Okay.
But I mean, Joel explained that the interest is there. I just don't understand why it's not being posted. If it's in the account, I mean, I think it should be posted to our account so that we have accurate numbers. Because this is going on 3 months now that we've had to pull, that I've requested we pull this because we don't have accurate numbers because the city will not give us accurate numbers.
Yeah, which I agree with you, Jeff. If you actually look at just going back and looking at our budget of the 2023, 2024 actuals under the miscellaneous revenue of interest, it's only reflecting $17,510.
That's right.
That's January.
Which is January. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's kind of hard for us to follow along. And that's why I keep requesting that we pull this out, because I want to ask these questions, but Marion's not here tonight to answer these questions. We were told 3 months ago that it was going to be rectified the next week.
Yeah.
And that was 3 months ago.
When?
It is an issue with having a staff that has the access to do the journal entries. So Marion has been out for the last 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
And Daniel's still in the process of getting his certifications and I guess access to the system to be able to make journal entries.
I don't.
So right now, to my knowledge, no one can do it.
Okay, well, I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
But, okay, she's been out 2.5 weeks. What about the other?
Right before that, the 2.5 months.
Yeah, before
Right.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, we can't get accurate numbers, and it's just hard for us to see where we really are if we're not getting the accurate numbers, for the city won't produce them for us.
Especially when you're making a budget, so you're having to go through your head and say, well, it's not actually 17,000.
Right, it should be more than that, and we're trying to plan and see where we are for this year so we can plan for next year's budget, and we don't have numbers.
Yeah.
I don't know if that happens to city council, if they don't get accurate stuff either or not. I don't know, but it's
a good point.
It's getting beyond frustrating.
Okay.
But I'm fine with approving it after, since Joel said they had gone through and talked with they went to the company and they had to, they got the numbers from there.
Okay. So we have a motion for approval of the HEDC 2024 revenue and expense report dated June 13th, 2024. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Duly noted, motion passes. Okay. Thank you, and thank you, Jeff. All right, so update, Glenn, on
Yes, sir.
visitor and business center.
Back to you, Glenn.
Back to you.
So the visitor center, we've had this week, we had guys in there, electricians trying to disconnect all of electrical equipment. The contractor had about 4 guys doing all the sheetrock and stud demo today. That's done. Waiting on a swap of the dumpster to get the last bit of the material out. All the stud materials have been delivered to the site. So they are starting to mark out, and they're going to chop all the walls
Where are they storing that?
inside the space.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
It's not getting.
It's in the dumpster. They're stored in the.
Yeah.
I saw them carrying 2x4s in when I made the turn.
All right, good. All right, makes you feel better.
And potentially we have a plumber coming out, I think on Friday to start saw cutting. So they're going to be moving full steam ahead.
Okay. And our lease or kind of temporary lease in the space you're at now, when does, is that just month by month right now, or is there?
It is a month to month anticipation of ending around September, but we do have a little bit of flexibility.
Okay.
And I'm still trying to get a sign up in the temporary space because it still says destination fit.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and workout clothes came in the other day.
Yeah.
Joe, we're back together?
It was Joel, actually.
Really confused.
Yeah, I don't know, it's funny, by the time you probably coordinated all that, it'd probably be too late. If you could just maybe, there's a way just to get that destination fit off and just have the sign that says EDC is temporarily relocated down at the two doors down.
And the brick paver program, we've got it up on our website. We've created a couple of flyers and rack cards. The chamber has emailed it out twice to their membership. So we're starting to get some come in. We've had a few issues on the back end, which we haven't figured out everything, to be quite honest. Well, the first two applicants double billed them. That got resolved, but I think the solution ended up preventing others. So I know Mr. Kodowski, and I've had two other people reach out. They are unable to purchase a brick because it says there's a duplicate entry. There is not a duplicate entry. So the webmaster's trying to figure out the coding on that because we have others that are going through. The city purchased 3 bricks last week without a problem. So don't know exactly what it is. We are also planning to do a mixer in coordination with the chamber over at the artist studio toward the end of July. The artist would like to do it around July 25th if possible. So we'll be able to get a glimpse of the piece and then sell bricks a little bit and kind of just have a mingle down there.
Okay.
She's got a really nice studio for some of her other works.
Do we have an anticipated date of delivery yet?
Not a specific date of delivery. She said she is ahead of schedule of where she thought she would be. So initially, I was hoping she would be done August, September, and she was anticipating October. So it might be looking closer. We'll get it.
It'd be nice to have it for the 0.5K.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
There's a chance.
There's a chance.
Cool.
So I'm gonna, our other little problem that we're dealing with is still, Public Works still has some concern about the width of the circle itself as far as the wall and issues that they see with the design standards for a median island, which I've had a couple of back and forths, and it looks like we're going to have no choice. We were talking about professional services before. We have no choice but to hire an engineer to say, yes, this is acceptable per median standards or median island standards. So I've talked with, we've used in the past for just kind of spot engineering, I won't say they're our city engineer, or maybe they are. I mean, they're not under any contract, but LMV, which is now our Dura, which has done a lot of engineering for us in the past. I've reached out to them for them to put together what I consider a very simple scope, just to say, yes, this is meeting the standards of a median island for that wall. So yeah, we tried the easy route or the not spend money route, but they're not letting us.
Are we gonna pay for this?
Yes.
Yeah. The contractor doesn't have any share in that?
There may, let's find out what I agree with you, Jeff. There could be, I mean, if it's like if it's something that's really easy to take care of, we'll go either way. I mean, I think we're going to save a lot of work if we can definitely, they'll save him a lot of rework if it does not need to be torn down. So, but let's kind of see where this goes. But whatever we do, obviously, we're going to bring it to everybody here for their approval.
Okay.
So that's where that stands. We got to get that resolved by hopefully next month time. All right. Any other updates, questions for Glenn? All good. All right. It is 8:31. We are now adjourned. All right.